Pissed Pennsylvanians just took town back from nasty migrants after disgusting thing they all did. The question of immigration is one that's been plaguing us lately with very few good answers. Of course, we must keep our residents safe before anything else, however many feel it's our moral obligation to take in those whose countries have been torn by war and or natural disaster. This makes sense if you work off the assumption that those people are in need of immediate refuge from imminent danger. Unfortunately, many of the refugees that come to the United States aren't actually escaping war and death, they just kinda feel like their lives would be better if they were in the United States, and they're probably right. They're not, however, willing to adapt to the social norms of our culture that made this such a great place to live. For instance, one of the things that keep our country in a category known as the civilized world is not doing things like using the street as your own private toilet. Sadly, some of the immigrants that the government wants to force off on one Pennsylvania town either don't know about that law, or they're just unwilling to follow it. The original residents of the town aren't happy, and they're striking back. Via the Blaze. Residents in California, Pennsylvania, a small borough of the Pittsburgh metropolitan area, have said they are outraged after the federal government moved 40 Romanian gypsies into the town of 7,000 as part of the government's alternative to detention program. On Thursday, more than 150 residents attended a community meeting about the immigrants, who residents say have failed to assimilate to American customs and norms. The residents cited trash in yards, disruptions in town markets, children and men defecating in public streets, and immigrants cutting off the heads of chickens in public areas, according to a report by TTV. None of the immigrants, who are undocumented, have been charged with any other serious criminal offenses. We are a very diverse town, we're very open, but they aren't assimilating to our laws, said Pam Jurisic, a resident of California, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reported. We are understanding that these are immigrants. But this is not the same scenario as our grandparents. They didn't come here to raise havoc. The Romanian immigrants ended up in the California borough as part of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Alternative to Detention program, which allows immigrants to live in U.S. communities instead of being detained while they await a final decision about their immigration status. The Romanian immigrants have said they came to America to escape persecution. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reported that they belong to a group called Roma, minorities in Romania that are distinct from most of the Romanian population. The 40 Romanian immigrants have self-described themselves as gypsies. It's unclear why they ended up in California borough, rather than in some other neighboring town or in nearby Pittsburgh, but the Post-Gazette reported one of the Romanians said at the town meeting they came to California borough because of its affordability and friendly reputation. At the town meeting, town officials and the police chief told residents they had received no warning from the federal government about the immigrants' arrival. About 600 residents have signed a petition demanding the gypsies change their living habits. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, the Alternatives to Immigration Detention program was implemented in part to save taxpayer money. About $2 billion is spent every year for immigration detention. The ACLU also claims the aid program is more humane because the immigrants involved in the program would otherwise be detained only to ensure that they show up for their hearings, not because they've committed crimes. Well, they may not have committed crimes at the point that they were picked up en masse at whatever place they tried to enter the United States, but they've broken some laws now. If you research the background of gypsies in Romania, you'll find that this group of people is one that is considered outcast, even in their own country. They keep to themselves in their own villages, and if you visit them it's well known that you might come back with a new bug or disease that you didn't have when you went in. Now, that could all be a rumor, and maybe they're just misunderstood. If that were the case, and they were coming to the U.S. to start over and begin a life with a blank slate to make good for themselves, they should probably start by not breaking our laws. The phrase alternative to detention basically means they'd be in prison if they weren't in our streets. They've been detained because they're lawbreakers, both by entering the country and by refusing to obey the laws when they got here. The federal government thought that since they didn't have the room or the time to deal with it, they should just stick these unvetted illegals in and among a randomly selected community. They came illegally, and they're doing illegal things now that they're here. Big surprise. Maybe instead of putting these undesirables with sketchy pasts in the middle of unsuspecting citizens, they should put them in one of the swanky DC neighborhoods so that the lawmakers can step over their defecation and have to deal with the problems that these groups bring. I'm not saying don't let them in, I'm just saying let's make sure that the people making the decisions about where they go and if they stay actually have some skin in the game. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe Breaking News 365 channel. Goodbye and see you again.